Hello, everyone, and welcome to People Keep Dying, a podcast where we talk about how people keep dying. I'm your host, Stephanie.
And this is Angela.
And today we're going to talk to you. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about a murder. Actually, it's two.
So
Couple.
serial.
It's not. I wouldn't say this is a serial murder. I don't think anybody else would also
It depends.
consider her a serial killer either. So a couple weeks ago, I referenced that one of the ones that I wanted to do was the Tylenol murders. And then we had a little bit of a debate about whether or not it's been caught. This is a little bit of a side story from the Tylenol
Oh,
murders.
okay. Okay. It's the same time frame.
Yes, it's in the same time frame. It's a lot more recent. I decided to do a more recent set of deaths.
Ooh.
Okay, so on June 5th, 1986, Bruce Nickell left work early due to a headache, came home from work, took 4 extra-strength Excedrin pills, and reportedly collapsed only a few minutes later. His wife called 911, and Bruce was transported to a nearby hospital where he died a few hours later. The initial coroner's report stated that Bruce had died to natural causes, citing emphysema complications. We're getting right into it. Like, it is just someone has already died.
I think I've seen this episode of
Oh yeah, I wanted to start. My sources, I wanted to cite my sources. So majority of the information came from Murderpedia and also Forensic Files.
I think I've seen this Forensic Files.
Yeah. It normally opens up with the other victim. I didn't want to
Yeah.
open up with the other victim. Doing something a little different.
Go in order, timeline-wise.
Yeah. So less than a week later, on the morning of June 11th, 1986, Susan Snow, a 40-year-old bank manager in Auburn, Washington, woke up with a headache. A lot of people getting headaches. She took 2 extra-strength Excedrin capsules, wished her daughter Haley a good day at school, then headed upstairs to finish getting ready for work. 40 minutes later, her daughter went upstairs to check on her mom and found her laying on the floor unconscious with her eyes open.
That's not terrifying at all.
No.
Yeah.
I imagine that would be on the 911 call, the daughter had said that it looked like her mother was just sleeping with her eyes open on the floor. Like her eyes were like rolled back in the back of her head, which if I was to ever see that ever, it would probably freak me out.
I think most people, it freaked them out. Yeah, for sure.
My sister, when she was like a super young, she used to sleep with her eyes open.
Oh my god.
It
creeps me out when a dog does
like
it.
just the
How do you do?
littlest sliver.
Oh my
of
god.
eyes. Like, no, close
The
those.
driest eyes in the world. That's what I wake up. Like, yeah, it's normal.
Yeah. So the daughter calls 911. Susan is transported to a nearby hospital where she would pass away a few hours later. And then during the autopsy report, the medical examiner detected a scent of bitter almonds, which is a telltale sign for cyanide poisoning. Yeah. So they run some tests and they verify that Snow had died due to acute cyanide poisoning. And the investigators go to the house and they were able to trace the cyanide back to a bottle of Excedrin capsules found in the Snow household. So, as you may or may not know, back in September 1982, it was actually September 29th and September 30th, 7 people in the Chicago area all died to cyanide poisoning within hours of each other after taking Tylenol that had been tampered with. This was the big thing that sort of skyrocketed, caused a lot of like mass panic because like 7 random people died. To this day, no charges have ever been laid in regards to the Tylenol murders, and several copyright crimes have occurred since then that attributed to at least 3 more deaths and a whole lot more people being injured.
How sweet.
Just like terrible. So because of that, and now that so they had a woman die to cyanide poisoning tampering with some Excedrin capsules, and they're just like, holy shit, is this going to be a little bit kind of like Chicago? So on June 17th, okay, so Bristol Myers is doing a national recall, and so it gets put on the news. It's on the news, like, hey, you know, there was some cyanide tampering with some deaths. The media is getting media-ish, how they usually do, and people are getting a little freaked out. So on June 17th, which is a week after Susan Snow has died, the police receive a phone call from Stella Nickell, who is the widow of Bruce Nickell, and she tells the police that she believes that her husband also died to cyanide poisoning a week prior because he had a headache, came home from work with a headache, took a couple Excedrin pills, the extra strength ones, lost consciousness and died. And apparently during this time, because his death was ruled a natural causes by emphysema, she was like, no, like this doesn't make any sense. He didn't die to natural causes, blah, blah, blah. So that was they were a little suspicious of that. So the police go in and they swoop and scoop up some of his blood, run a couple of tests, and ta-da, they find out that Mr. Nickell also died to cyanide poisoning.
Yep.
Go figure. Which, I mean, when they were doing his autopsy, like, how did they miss the bitter almond smell?
I think they just ignore it sometimes, is what I
Yeah,
feel.
maybe
Like
it was
whenever
just-
someone dies of poisoning, they're like, you know what, less paperwork.
Yeah.
Died of natural causes.
Yeah.
Murder, way more paperwork.
Well, whoever did Snow's autopsy, I mean, good on you for smelling that almond. Good on your nose, you little doggy, you.
I would not want to have good like nose receptors as a mortician.
Ooh, no.
So
I would imagine that over time your nose probably gets a little bit immune
yeah.
to.
So maybe that's why
maybe
they
not.
didn't smell the almond, because they're just like block
So
their
much
nose out
all-
completely,
yeah.
and we're just like, I don't want to smell any of this.
They're not
Died.
sensitive to it. But
Yeah.
you would think that if you're a mortician or like, not a mortician because there wouldn't have been a mortician at this point.
Yeah, like
If you're like a medical examiner, you probably would need to be attuned to be able to pick up those smells. Like
Yeah.
those are your like, if you smell almonds, that's it.
maybe it's so rare, like cyanide poisoning is
Yeah.
so rare.
Well, I mean, apparently cyanide poisoning wasn't rare in the 80s.
It's just an easy way to kill someone.
Yeah.
You know, you add it to their coffee sometimes.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
think Nick doesn't drink any coffee. It's probably just in case.
So Mr. Nickell dies to the cyanide poisoning, or they find out that he died to the cyanide poisoning after testing his blood, and they go to the house and they do a big sweep and they find 2 bottles of Excedrin. They test both those bottles, and both tested positive for cyanide. Which, I mean, the police were instantly like, I mean, that's odd that you ended up with 2. So when they question her about it, she claims that she bought them at different times and at different locations, and the police find this even more suspicious because, I mean, at this time they really hadn't done the big sweep, but the media frenzy is picking up a little bit more because now there's 2 confirmed deaths to the cyanide poisoning and mixed with the Excedrin pills. Bristol Myers recalls all Excedrin capsules in the United States, pulling them from store shelves. Then they tell consumers, don't use anything that you already have, like get rid of it. 2 days later, the company announces a recall of all of their non-prescription capsule products. So anything that was in a capsule, they're just like, we're recalling
in
it,
case,
get rid
yeah.
of it. And by the end of the month, Washington State had put in a 90-day ban on all non-prescription medication in capsules.
Jeez.
Like it was just like they were like, no, we are not doing this shit again. We're pulling it all. We're testing it all. Like,
Yep.
and it probably took forever. So with the recalls and all of that, they end up finding 2 more bottles of tainted Excedrin. One in just a store in the same area, but not connected, and then another bottle at another store that Susan Snow had bought her medication from.
Oh.
And
We know where this is going.
yes. So the FBI sends all 5 bottles in to get tested. That's all they find. And one of the bottles comes back testing positive or they had some little green specks in it, and they run some tests on that. They find out it's an algicide called algae destroyer that's used in aquariums. So they run this theory where they think that whoever crushed the cyanide pills probably crushed it in the container of the algae destroyer without cleaning it, because it was just very little was found. But they were like, it was probably mixed in the same container and then transferred over to the capsules. So the FBI goes off and they're doing their FBI stuff. And they discover that not only did Miss Stella Nickell own an aquarium and recently get into the aquarium hobby, She also recently purchased some algae destroyer, as well as taking out 3 life insurance policies on her husband.
You shouldn't be allowed to take that many out because then
Yeah.
murder's gonna happen.
Because, first of all, why do you need 3? Like, and these were poor people. These weren't like rich people. So
That's
I'm
why
just
you
thinking,
need 3 because
yeah,
you can't get like an expensive one, so you get more than one to make
yeah.
up for the fact that you can only get like $60,000 life insurance policies.
I think it's weird, and I feel like this is a big failure on life insurance companies
Yeah.
and maybe just like the laws regarding it. But no, I don't think that people should have more than one life insurance policy
No.
unless it's like in conjunction with something. Because I know when you buy a house,
Yeah.
you have to get a life insurance policy
For the house.
For the house.
Yeah.
So I can understand if you had like a life insurance policy with your house and maybe a life insurance policy with your car. But if you've taken out 3 life insurance
Extra ones?
policies,
Yeah.
that's a like red sign, red flag, red flag. So that was like really weird.
This is why you can't trust anyone who owns an aquarium.
I have aquariums and I have life insurance policies on both me and my partner.
So you know where this is going.
Watch out for that cyanide poisoning. I would never. I'm not.
I would never be that boring.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would. You know why? Because I don't think I would be able to be educated enough, or I don't think that I am smart enough. Well, I know I'm not smart enough to be able to beat any test out there for poisons.
Yeah.
Because like I don't think the general public, unless you work with poisons and stuff like that, you don't know what kind of tests are out there as to what would and wouldn't show.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know that I wouldn't be able to get away with it.
I know I wouldn't be able to get away with it.
I doubt that I would be able to get away with it when it's poison.
But you are a woman, so you are more likely to get away with things.
Okay, so Stella Nickell was born on August 7th, 1943 to a very poor family in Colton, Oregon.
I think you have to be poor to be taking 3 life insurance policies on people.
I mean, but this is when she was born.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be born to a rich family and then turn into a trash later on. I mean, her life really wasn't
But I think
all
like
that great.
if you start off poor and then you continue to be poor, then money is more important than everything else. Whereas if you're able to grow your own wealth, then you're not chasing money anymore as much.
Yeah.
Hope, but I don't know.
I don't know. So yeah, she grew up very poor. She had a daughter at 16 years old, where then afterwards she moved to South California. She got married and she had another daughter. And then in her 20s, she started getting in trouble with the law. She served some time in jail for fraud and forgery, which seems to be a big fun thing for her, is committing some fraud. She was also charged with child abuse after beating her 10-year-old daughter with a curtain rod.
I'm surprised that she got charged at all, though. Wasn't like the 60s like a free for all?
This would have been, oh yeah, I guess this would have been
70s, right?
60s and 70s. It depends on how bad she beat her with that curtain
It
rod.
must have been real bad for
'Cause
cops to care back then.
I don't imagine it was just one time.
Yeah.
So she definitely had a temper and she liked to drink. Which, I mean, it's when you're poor in the 40s and 50s and 60s, like she probably grew up with like alcoholic parents and like
to escape how
shitty
life is. Yeah,
like
I get it.
Yeah. So in 1974, she met Bruce Nickell, who was a heavy equipment operator. The two married after only 2 years of dating, and by all accounts, their marriage was pretty okay. Bruce Nickell was also a drunk. He liked to hang out at the bar, and him and Stella used to just drink all night and party all the time, and everything was great.
Found his life partner.
Yeah, he found his life partner. That was all well until Bruce decided to go to rehab. Didn't want to be a drinker anymore. And probably wanted to improve his life a little bit. Was tired of being poor. So he goes to rehab and he gives up drinking. And then apparently Stella, the relationship starts to get a little bit rocky. Stella apparently is super resentful of Bruce's sobriety and would often complain to her children about how boring he was because he only ever wanted to stay home and watch TV instead of going out to the bars and drinking.
He's my type of man right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, it is just sort of like, sorry that your husband decided that he wanted to better himself. Like, maybe you should have tried to step up to better yourself. You clearly needed to step up and better yourself with the shit that you did after. So,
well, maybe she was better off just finding someone else who was
Yeah,
more
like,
in tune with her current lifestyle. If
yeah.
she's that unhappy, you don't have to murder her.
Yeah, if you're that
Just
unhappy,
leave.
you can just leave. You
Yeah.
don't need to kill him just because he doesn't want to drink with you anymore.
Unless you're there against your will, then you can't kill him.
I, there's always an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
It just depends on the thing. This was not like Bruce Nickell was not beating his wife.
No.
So she was all upset about how boring he was because he didn't want to go out drinking with her. So I guess she also kind of cut back on her drinking, and she decided to take a little bit more work shifts at night. And she also got into her aquarium habit, which I thought that was a really weird like piece of information.
Maybe it's much because it's so meticulous. Well, the information is because of the connection with it.
Yeah, so I mean, why she got into the aquariums, who knows? But
It's because
they said
aquariums mean serial
yeah, it
killers.
was pretty much like kind of where people. I mean, it could have been where. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll circle back to why she may have gotten to the aquariums because I have some theories.
Better not be because oh man.
So the police bring Stella into questioning and they ask her to take a polygraph test. They actually brought it also in the husband of Susan Snow. They brought him in for questioning as well, and he submitted for the polygraph test and he passed because he had nothing to do with it. Stella was like, "Nah, I'm not doing your polygraph. I've been heavily drinking because of how upset it is that my husband has passed." The lawyer was like, she doesn't want to do it. She's too shaken up to be subjected to that kind of examination.
Well, yeah.
So the FBI is like, fuck. The investigators are like, well, we don't really have much to like sort of tie her in. We're going to have to find some more evidence. But they're not really able to find any other than just the fact that the husband has some life insurance policies and the algae, but it's all circumstantial. It's not enough to arrest her on.
Exactly.
But then they discover that she forged at least two of the life insurance policies.
Oh. So he didn't even know that she had 3 life insurance
No,
policies
he
on
didn't
him.
know. We don't know. It looks like 2 of them may have been forged. So the police bring her in again. Also because she was set to receive an additional, so with the 3 life insurance policies, she was only getting $74,000, which I thought was, I mean, that's probably a lot of money back
No,
in
86.
the 70s.
It was 86.
No, it was 86,
Yeah.
sorry. I mean, $70,000 to anyone, even in now, is a lot of money. But as like a
Yeah.
life insurance, like
For 3 life insurance policies,
yeah, that's really
not that much money.
No, it's not that much money.
Yeah.
However, if he had died accidentally, she was set to receive an additional $100,000.
Oh.
But the coroner's report said that he died to natural causes. So she had been going and trying to fight
Get that extra money.
to get that extra money. So she was trying to fight and have it so that it wasn't like an accidental death. She also launched a wrongful death suit against Bristol Myers because she was like, "You killed my husband." So she was doing all this stuff to really make it look like her husband had been murdered or accidentally death, but not that she had killed him.
Yeah.
So the police bring her in for another polygraph test. She finally consented because it had been several months, so she couldn't have been like, "Oh, I'm too shaken up because I've been drinking so much for the last X amount of time." And she fails, clearly. And but they again have no concrete proof that she purchased or used any cyanide, only that she has the algae destroyer, and again they're unable to make an arrest. But all that changes a couple months later when Stella's daughter Cynthia comes forward. So Cynthia's the daughter who got beaten
down.
beaten from the original marriage.
Yeah.
So she tells the police that Stella repeatedly told her that she wanted her husband Bruce dead. Cynthia even stated that Stella had told her that she tried to kill Bruce before with capsules filled with foxglove, which is or also called digitalis, and it's just a flower, poisonous flower. However, that didn't work, and so she decided to go to the public library to start researching other methods and learned about cyanide. Cynthia then claimed that Nickell had spoken to her several times about what the two of them could do with the insurance money if Bruce was dead. So Stella was all just like, listen, we're going to get this $174,500. We can go open up a little aquarium shop. And, we can have this like super great life.
Yeah.
If Bruce dies. And she was always like complaining to her kids about like how boring he was and for years. So with Cynthia's tale or her like statement, the police go to the library and they find a whole bunch of records that showed that Nickell had checked out numerous books about poisons, including Human Poisoning from Native and Cultivated Plants and a book called The Deadly Harvest.
So like libraries were basically like your internet search history.
Yeah.
Like they're like, if you wanted to get away with this, you should have checked it out. You should make copies
Well,
at the library.
She was at the library. She wasn't checking the books out. Well, she did check out Deadly Harvest and never returned it, so they know for sure that she checked it out.
Yeah.
But what they ended up pulling was her fingerprints. They ran through all the books and they found them. They pulled her fingerprints off of a bunch of poisoning books, and where a majority of all of her fingerprints were found on pages relating to cyanide poisoning.
She wore gloves.
Yeah, if you're gonna research shit, first of all, I highly suggest you go to the library to research your stuff, and maybe wear some gloves.
Yeah,
because
probably shouldn't be giving information out. How to murder
sorry.
people.
I mean, I grew up watching
Don't
CS. Yeah,
do it. Always wear gloves. Don't do it.
I was a part of the generation that grew up watching like
CSI.
5 million
Yeah.
CSI. So I know all about this stuff to not get caught. Like this is
Yeah.
what you don't do.
And nowadays, it's like they'll find you out from something really dumb that you did.
Oh no, they'll
usually.
find you.
Yeah, they'll find
There's
you.
cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
You're always being listened to. You're always being watched.
Your social media for sure is not safe, as we've
Nope.
learned from recent news.
Nope.
So you'll get caught.
You will
You'll
always
get
get
caught.
caught. And DNA lasts forever.
Yeah.
And they'll find you. And now it's not even your fucking DNA. It's your family's DNA
Yeah.
too. You got to make sure that they're not doing anything. And we're talking like 7 cousins out can fuck you over. Okay, so they pull her fingerprints from several cyanide pages from the books, and they are like, "We got you now, bitch," and they arrest her. So, on October 9th, 1987, Nickell was indicted by a federal grand jury on 5 counts of product tampering resulting in death. And on May 9th, after 5 days of jury deliberation, she was found guilty on all charges, thank God. Because who's not gonna like...
Nowadays, if you have a really good lawyer, she could have gone away with it.
Well, they basically sort of tried to fight it, and they did appeal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, so she went in, the court stuff only lasted about 5 months, and then she was found guilty. She was sentenced to 2 terms of 90 years in prison for the deaths of Snow and Bruce Nickell, and 3 10-year terms for the product tampering charges.
Jeez.
All sentences were to run concurrently, and the judge ordered Stella to pay a small fine and forfeit all of her remaining assets to the families of her victims.
Good.
Which, I mean...
No shit.
One of the families of her victims was her own fucking family.
But
So
it goes to like their daughter, probably. Yeah. Who was no way guilty of her mom being crazy.
Okay, so there's a little bit of
Oh.
So the part that's most interesting to me is that this is the first conviction of product tampering since the 1982 murders, because after the 1982 Tylenol murders, new FDA regulations went into effect, which made it a federal crime, not just a state or local crime, to tamper with consumer products.
Good.
Because it's being dispersed out federally.
Yeah.
Like, more than just to the state. So the local and state authorities are not, prevented from also filing charges in such cases. So under the law, Stella Nickell's crime was prosecutable under the federal product tampering case as well as the state murder case, but she wasn't convicted for murder. She was convicted of product tampering that caused death. So she is up for probation this year.
Oh my God.
Not probation.
Parole?
Parole. She's up for parole this year. And so she could get out. She most likely will not. But the state, Washington State, can still lay charges of the actual murders
Oh. So she gets out, they'll just lay charges.
yeah. If they're gonna pass it, then they'll probably be like,
Yeah.
no, bitch, you're going back and we'll do that. But I can't imagine the parole board letting her off. Anyways, like she has to do
I don't
fucking
know. They don't seem to care
100
sometimes.
and she has to do 210 years.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Nickell continued to maintain her innocence after her trial. She repeatedly was like, I didn't do it. She applied for 2 appeals. Both were denied. And she would basically claim that her daughter lied about the involvement in the case in order to reap the benefits. So basically, they're saying, or she was saying, that the daughter wanted all the money. So she got the $174,000. In addition, she was also set to get $300,000 from Bristol Myers,
Oh.
because they put out a thing like, we will give $300,000 to anybody that helps us solve what happened.
Yeah. Like as if like her daughter did it and then framed her mom.
Yes.
Oh.
That's sort of what Stella was like. She framed me, but the cops were like,
But the
nah.
fingerprints on of the books
Yeah.
were yours,
Yeah.
as well as the
You
fact
were-
that you checked out the books. So
You did it.
yeah, I can understand why you're trying to pull this off.
The daughter got $250,000 of the $300,000.
Okay.
So she did get that money. And she, like, her mom went to jail and her stepdad was murdered.
Yeah.
And she basically walked off with almost 500 grand.
A lot of kids usually would prefer to have their parents.
She was already an adult.
Oh, then
She was 27.
I mean, I would prefer to.
And
still
it's
have my parents.
I can't imagine she had a great relationship with her mom. Yeah, so, bitch, if I'm not, she probably, I don't believe that she actually set up her mom because they
because
found
of the books
proof,
and then
like
the
the books.
fingerprints. But if
I mean, but
there's always conspiracy theories out there that like the
she got her money.
fingerprints were,
She also argued that the sales clerk that stated that she purchased the algae destroyer was influenced on the promise of payment. So basically, she was like, "Everybody's out to gut me, and they're just paying off money." Which, I mean, I could see why. She killed someone
yeah.
for $74,000.
And then her daughter's like, I'm gonna be able to get way more money than that for turning.
And so that is the murder of Susan Snow and Bruce Nickell, and which was the first conviction on product tampering after the 1982 Tylenol murders.
I wonder if there's been a lot since then.
For product tampering,
Yeah.
probably a lot for product tampering.
Yeah.
But there because there was a lot of copycats that spewed out. So a little bit of extra facts. They were going to make a movie about her, about this. And Johnson & Johnson, who is the company for Tylenol,
Yep.
they shut it down because
They don't want people to remember.
They didn't want people. They didn't want the movie because they didn't want to be reminded of the Tylenol 82 murders. They didn't want the bad press. Johnson & Johnson was just like, no, we don't want any of it. So that movie got shut down, and they've never done a movie on it. Which it was supposed to have Katie Seagal as Stella, which I love
her.
Katie.
I love her so much.
That would have been a good movie. I would have liked to watch it.
So my story this week is sort of a murder, but mostly cannibalism.
How do you have mostly cannibalism with
Sort of a murder.
mostly
cannibalism. It'll make sense after I read the story.
Okay.
It's great.
Okay, I'll try not to.
I think you might have heard of it. It's very recent. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really hear unless it's like the bath salts in Florida.
Oh yeah, that guy. That guy was.
Yeah,
great.
unless it's the bath salts guy
I don't
in Florida.
think he
I
died
haven't-
though. That wasn't a murder.
But I mean, there was a little bit of cannibalism.
Well, this guy's name is Armin Meiwes. He is known as the Rotenburg Cannibal or Der Metzgermeister, the Master Butcher
The Master Butcher.
in Germany.
Okay, I was gonna ask you where was this?
Yes.
Guess it
Well, his
didn't
last name
sound
is
American.
Metzgermeister.
Metzger. I don't know German
Der.
dialect.
I just know that if it says Der, it's almost always German. I don't know if that's true.
I
I'm
don't
just a
know.
guess.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Somewhere in Europe, but German. He was born on December 1st, 1961. I actually have some of his backstory. I only got all this information from, because I like checked like 4 or 5 different like, articles and like Murderpedia and Wikipedia and like different things. But I found like this one place that had his backstory information. Don't know if it's true because no one else wrote about it.
Yeah, that's sort of the thing that you get into, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't really know what story is telling this right story, and
Yeah.
everyone sort of like has their own little
Yeah.
spin. I like Murderpedia because I found that like they take a lot of different information,
yeah.
and it's always the same information, but they have it in one section.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
And this information was not his like background info was not on
Yeah.
Murderpedia.
Yeah.
But Armin was a third son of Waltraud Muse, a woman who by the age of 45 had been dumped by 3 husbands. So if you're dumped by 3 people, I feel like you're pretty bitter. I think so.
I mean, it depends on the state of the relationship. I mean, they could have been trash people and just couldn't handle
she
how
could have been
extra
a
she
trash-
was.
Yeah. Not in those days, though.
No. When was this again, sorry?
He was born in 1961.
Okay.
So 60s, 70s.
Yeah, it's our parents.
Armin was 6 when his half brothers left to pursue their own lives, and 8 when his own father left. Waltraud, which is the mom's name, was a bitter and domineering woman who criticized Armin nonstop.
Man, that's how they're going to talk about me when I have kids.
No.
No, they won't.
No, they won't.
That woman was such a pushover.
Yeah, my mom let me
Man.
get away with everything.
Dudes with like super like controlling, overbearing moms never really, that shit doesn't work out most of the time.
By the time he was 8, he was already having fantasies of eating his schoolmates.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, by the time he was 8 years old, he had already had fantasies of eating his schoolmates. And there's a reason for it. He thought through eating them, he hoped that they would become his brothers, and it was his way of keeping them with him forever.
Oh my fucking God. He must have like heard some like weird story so he thought that if he ate the kids,
That they would stay with him.
that they would stay with him. Was he an only child? Did he have?
He was, and he had brothers, but all of his half brothers left him when he was 6. So I think like he had brothers, and all of a sudden they're gone. So he just felt
Was he
lonely.
like a late child in life type deal?
It doesn't sound like it.
That's unfortunate. That's weird. Anyways.
Yeah. But I have a side personal note here.
Ooh.
I 100% have said to Nick that this is what I would do with him. This is what I want him to do with my body. I told him before, I think within the first year of us dating, that I want my cremated body to be sprinkled into all of his food so he could eat me and I could travel with him forever.
Oh my God.
He said no. He told me I'm fucking crazy.
I mean,
But with this, yeah.
that is a little weird, Angela. I will admit.
I also decided what tree I would become if
Okay,
I did
what?
discuss this. So I said after I die, I want my body to be cremated and then made into a tree.
Which
but I want it to
tree?
be made into a fig tree because figs eat wasps to create the fruit most of the time.
Figs eat wasps.
So figs are technically carnivorous.
Figs eat the wasps to
so
create
when
the
you
fruit.
eat, like most of the time. So figs are actually just the dead wasp inside. And I love that. And I also love figs, but I love that.
Oh my God, I didn't know
So I
that.
want to become a fig tree.
Okay.
All right.
Back to your story.
So his mother succumbed to cancer in 1999, which is shortly before all of the shit goes down.
Okay, so that definitely
It
probably
sounds like a trigger.
that would have been his trigger. I was gonna say, I bet you he was real happy after his mom died,
Yeah.
but maybe not.
Well, he is called a cannibal, so
Maybe he. I don't know. Maybe he needed his mom.
so he is a German computer repair technician who posted an ad in a forum on the website The Cannibal Cafe, a blog for people with a cannibal fetish.
Oh my fucking God.
He was, quote, looking for a well-built 18 to 30-year-old to be slaughtered and consumed.
Do people sign up for that shit?
Yes.
Do people literally sign up to be slaughtered and killed? Like
Well,
to
this is
be
where I'm
killed
getting
and
to.
oh my god, there is this whole side of the world that I like people do not.
I'm getting to it.
Oh no.
He admitted to an obsession with cannibalism from an early age, as I'd mentioned.
Oh dude, seriously, going back a little bit. Any person that goes to that Cannibalism Cafe website, they are
on
for
the
sure
website.
on some FBI list.
Maybe not, though. I mean, cannibalism is not illegal.
It's
in
not illegal, but
Germany.
it's not cannibalism isn't illegal in Germany.
Well, when this was happening in 2001, it wasn't.
I mean, if it
Or
wasn't,
2011, sorry.
I'm sorry, if it was happening in 2011 and it wasn't illegal, it for sure is probably still
Or
not
2001?
illegal.
It is 2001. I just wrote on the wrong date.
Doesn't
Anyways,
matter. That's still recent. That's crazy. That shit should have been shut down back in like 1400s.
well, this is the internet, right? So you can do whatever you want on the internet, as we've known.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Armin originally got many replies, but ultimately backed out. Like a lot of them would reply to him being like, I want this to happen. But like, you know what? Just kidding.
I actually realized that you're actually going to kill me.
and eat my
I don't have
body."
anyone to really look after my cat that day. I'm going to have to
and
cancel.
afterwards forever.
Yeah.
Meiwes did not try to force him into it. So he didn't, if they
Yeah.
said no, then he was like, all right. He was actually very respectful. So he's probably the least terrifying cannibal.
I mean, it's cool because it's sort of like he doesn't want to force anybody into it. It's a willing, he wants it to be a consensual
and don't worry,
experience.
this story's gonna get super weird real fast.
Fuck, I cannot believe anybody fucking replied. Like I could see some dudes being like, haha, let's reply to this and see what happens just to see how it goes.
And I think that's what most of them were.
Yeah,
in the
more of like
beginning.
intrigue.
And then they realized he was actually super serious and he wants to eat you. Oh my god. So finally someone did reply. Bernd Jürgen Armando Brands, an engineer from Berlin, answered the ad on March 2001.
An engineer, you would think that he'd be smart.
Well, Bernd was known for his mutilation ideas in the homosexual prostitution scene of his home city and was employed by Siemens AG in a managerial capacity until his death.
Okay, hold on. So he liked to do homosexual mutilation?
He was known for the ideas of, like putting it out there. Like, hey, do you know what sounds real cool?
Mutilating.
Chopping off dicks.
Of gay men.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
Because it's
homosexual prostitution scene. They met in person on March 9th, 2001 at Armin's house in Rotenburg. Bernd willingly entered into the soundproof slaughter room that Armin designed. So, yeah. They sat around at first and talked about computers, drinking coffee, and smoking. And Bernd seemed hesitant during this conversation. So Armin suggested 20 sleeping pills, some schnapps, and cold medicine to maybe calm him down. Because, honestly,
I can imagine if you're like, you just willingly walked into a place to die.
Yeah.
He's probably getting a little bit of
nervous.
like, maybe I don't really want to do this.
And then someone's like, do you want some drugs to calm your nerves? And you're like, yeah, then.
Yeah. You know what? That might, listen, if someone gave me a choice on how I would want to die, yeah. Pump me full of a bunch of pills, have me go to sleep. I don't ever want to wake the fuck up. Does he wake up? Oh no.
At around 6 p.m., Bernd cried out, do it now. And this is all in the perspective of Armin, who's telling the story of what happened. Because obviously Bernd is dead.
So he is dead.
He is dead.
But it's not a murder because it's consensual.
But it is a murder. You'll see.
Okay.
Armin turned on the camera at this point, which is why
Okay, yes. I was going to ask, was it recorded?
There is a video that the court officials got to see, but fortunately, it said to not be available, and I don't want to watch it, and I don't want to know about it. Don't send me anything. Thank you. Just knowing that the tape is out there and someone's seen it is enough for me. But Bernd and Armin agreed to eat the penis first. So that
he agreed to eat his own okay.
Yes.
That they were going to eat the penis together?
So Bernd could also experience it.
Oh, dude, no. Why do you want to eat your own penis?
Bernd initially suggested Armin bite it off. But it didn't work. So
I would
Armin
imagine.
used a knife to cut it off
Oh, fuck me.
while Bird is still alive.
Oh my god. And it's on camera.
Yep, all on camera. So I'm thankfully nope, I don't want to see this. Bernd attempted to eat his own penis raw, but found it to be too chewy.
What a shocker. Yeah, it would probably be a little too chewy. I mean, any part of your human body is going to be too chewy.
But the penis, especially.
I mean, there's no blood in it. It'll be all super flaccid. It'd
So-
be very chewy.
Armin chopped up the penis and fried it up in a pan with salt, pepper, garlic, and wine with some of Bernd's fat. It ended up being too burnt to consume, so Armin chopped up the penis some more and fucking fed it to his dog. According to court officials who saw the video, said that Bernd may have already been too weak from the blood loss to consume more than one bite of his own flesh. So it sounds like he did get a bite out of it, but he was pretty tired from losing all that blood, losing his penis. He lost like 5 pounds probably. So it's
that is a huge dick if it's 5
blood
pounds.
too.
Okay, sorry.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm thinking
with
about
the
like, the
blood,
blood
with the
and
blood.
the fat he cut off.
Yeah, I guess and it also depends on like how they're doing it.
Yeah.
I don't imagine they're doing it cleanly.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to picture some dude
cutting. I don't want
getting his
it.
dick
Don't
cut off
it.
while like not screaming and like running around.
That's why you had 20 sleeping pills and the schnapps and the cold medicine in the system.
Oh my god. Not enough.
Armin drew Bernd a bath to let him bleed out and took a break to read a Star Trek novel,
Oh.
checking in every 15 minutes to see if Bernd died.
Why wouldn't you like at that point just like slit his throat or something like
He's
to
not a
speed up?
Wait, hold
Yeah,
on.
but I mean,
I get there.
you cut off. I mean, how is sitting in a room with a dude bleeding out for if you're going in every 15 minutes to go check on that, like why? To me, it seems like it would make more sense for you to just
I get to it.
nick the artery in the leg then.
So after
You
the
don't want to
bath,
slit his throat.
Bernd collapsed into unconsciousness because he was still alive at that point.
He was alive in the bath?
He was still alive the next morning.
My fucking god.
After his penis was chopped off and he was in the bath for that long, still alive.
Okay, so 12 hours has gone by. Those drugs most definitely have gotten out of his system. The alcohol most definitely has worn off. How is that dude still
Alive.
Like, hey, you know what? I changed my mind.
He lost a lot of blood though, so he was unconscious, but he was alive.
Yeah, but still.
So after a long hesitation and prayer, Armin killed Bernd by stabbing him in the throat, after which he hung the body on a meat hook. Armin then cut the body up into pieces for future consumption.
Wow.
He pan-broiled some flesh, and then on a table set with his mother's best tablecloth, he paired the meat with good red wine. The details are super important in this story.
It is not an important. You know what? Actually, I have no sympathy for this victim because he signed the fuck up.
See, so that's why it's one of those stories where you don't feel fear for it because you're not worried this will happen to you because you're not gonna reply to a cannibal on the internet and tell them they can eat you, right?
No, I'm not interested in anybody.
Yep.
No.
He labeled and froze leftovers, and then went back online looking for another victim.
What?
Yep.
He's already looking for another one? He hasn't even finished the one human he's eaten.
Well,
Like-
get into it.
You don't need more, like. Oh my god, dude.
The entire ordeal of him, chopping up the body and eating it, whatever, took 4 hours. 4 hours that were recorded on tape, which the court may have seen.
That is excessive
Yep.
and shocking.
Armin ate Bernd's body for the next 10 months, storing body parts in his freezer under pizza boxes and consuming up to 20 kilograms of flesh, which is 44 pounds.
That is disgusting.
Yep.
I don't think I've eaten 44 pounds of anything in my life.
Probably like chicken.
Like maybe over like the span of my whole
This
life.
is 10 months. I've
That's-
definitely eaten 10 pounds of chicken, or 44 pounds of chicken in 10 months. I ate a lot of meat. On December 2002, some sites say 2001, but I think it's 2000. It's really hard to tell because he killed him in March 2001, and he ate the body for 10 months.
This is 2002.
So I feel like he might have actually been caught in December 2001, but I don't know. Like three different sites gave me different 2001,
Okay, well,
2002
I mean,
dates.
March is the third month, so if you add 10 months, I mean, it could be December.
Yeah.
I'm going to go where it's 2001, not
Yeah.
2002, because that's over a year.
A college student had found a new advertisement by Byrne for a new victim, as well as the details of Byrne's murder.
Okay, so it wasn't right away that he went looking for a new person.
Well, it sounds like like a college student finally, it was the first time someone reported it. Because even if like you put it online, a lot of people just read it and they're like, whatever. They're not going to report you to the police normally.
He actually posted about the murder?
Yeah.
What a fucking idiot.
To make sure that you know that when you die, he'll chop off your penis and they can share
I
it
just want you to know that I'll be real respectful with your body while I'm eating it.
Exactly.
This is the menu. This is the cookbook that I made.
And it's going to taste super delicious. And I'm going to make sure that your body doesn't go to waste. And I'll share it with my dog.
Yeah, that dog ate well.
The student called the police, who searched Armin's home and subsequently found a tape as well as the body parts in the freezer. Armin admitted to murder and cannibalism, which, by the way, in Germany, there are no laws that make cannibalism a crime.
Okay.
The charges against Armin were murder for the purpose of sexual pleasure and disturbing the peace of the body or of the dead. So his defense for the trial was that Byrne agreed to it, so it wasn't a crime, which is how you felt about it, because the victim did say, you can eat my body. And there's obviously he actually has a video of him consenting to this killing.
Yeah. What do you do at that? Yeah, that's
such a weird gray
what
area.
do you do at that point?
Yeah.
Like if someone says like, I want you to kill me and then I kill you, like then I shouldn't get charged with murder. But you asked for it.
There were two trials. On January 30th, 2004, at the first trial, the judge gave Armin 8.5 years for manslaughter, saying that it wasn't a murder case, but a case of two psychologically sick people who found each other. Yeah. Which I feel...
manslaughter makes,
Yeah. Armin expressed regret and said he would write a biography with the aim to deter anyone who wants to follow his footsteps.
No, he's making a biography to make himself famous.
They should go for treatment so it doesn't escalate like it did for me. While in prison, Armin became a vegetarian.
I think it's probably because people made fun of him a lot for eating the meat, and maybe they did a lot of shit to his food, and so he just became a vegetarian in jail.
I said maybe that's because nothing is as sweet as human flesh. Wah.
That's so twisted. But maybe he's like, I've had
I'm
the
pretty
best.
sure people just like shit all over his food though, because they're just like, you like eating human people, you can eat my fucking shit.
Yeah.
He believes that Germany has about 800 cannibals currently.
I believe it.
A retrial.
You have a lot of people that are living there that lived during World War II, and that's going to have some psychological ramifications down onto their children and their children. They will be feeling that for a really long time. But no, I'm not shocked. There was a lot of starving and a lot of poor people. And a lot of people had to turn to cannibalism.
But you don't have to know.
Which was what my story was about.
Yeah.
On our first episode.
Yep. A retrial was ordered on April 2004, or 2005.
Why a retrial?
Arguing that he should be convicted for murder as he killed for sexual gratification.
Nope.
A motive proved by his videotaping of the crime, because you would only videotape
Was
the
he
crime.
masturbating?
Well, their argument was the fact that if he videotaped the crime, it's because he wants to relive this experience, which in their minds means sexual gratification.
Really? Because I think he recorded it so that when the police showed up, he'd be like, "No, I have this video. This is what happened."
Agreeing to it.
Of the whole thing.
Well, the consent that Byrne gave on tape was ignored during his second trial.
See, I kind of look at it like, unless he was receiving sexual gratification at the time, which he wasn't, I don't think, I don't think him watching the video later gives him sexual gratification.
This was an assumption. So at his
Yeah.
retrial, a psychologist stated that Armin could reoffend and still had
Oh, yeah.
fantasies about devouring the flesh of young people.
Yep.
So on May 10th, 2006, the court in Frankfurt convicted Armin of murder and sentenced him to life imprisonment, which
That's too bad.
he is still currently serving.
I agree. He definitely would have reoffended if he
But-
would have gotten out. I do believe that.
Yeah.
I don't think he needed to get charged with murder, though. I think the manslaughter was enough. And I
Yeah.
think that he should have been, instead of being in jail for the rest of his life, he should have been to jail for the certain amount of time and they got put into a facility.
He would have definitely been free in 2012 if he had served his 8.5 years for the manslaughter. He did definitely need a lot of psychological help.
Yeah, so you send him to jail and then you assess and then you put him into a medical facility.
But it was one of those stories where I was so conflicted because I'm like, this guy asked to be murdered and then they ate his dick together.
Yeah, it was very consensual.
Yeah.
And my question is, at any point did he say, "No, I
Stop.
don't want to do this"?
And it doesn't sound like they never mentioned it. So it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like he never
Like,
said no.
It's sort of the one time
Yeah.
at the beginning, but then they drugged him, gave him some alcohol. But I mean, like during the removal of the penis, or when he was in that bathtub for
did he
like
force
an
that
hour,
penis down
or
his throat? It doesn't sound like
no,
it.
or
So-
was he like sitting there chewing on it and be like, "Oh, I can't
Yeah.
eat this," and spit it out, and then was like, "Oh, I'm so weak." Like manslaughter for sure, murder I don't.
Yeah.
It's a little fluid only because they have the video. If it was just like, no, he was
He
so
said
into it,
yeah.
I
But
would have
with
been
the
like,
video there, it sounds like it should have been manslaughter because of the video. But
yeah,
because they omitted the fact that he gave consent in the video for a second trial, that's the reason he was able to. They were able to get him life imprisonment.
that sucks. So
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't suck so much,
But I
it's,
mean, this story was just so interesting.
No,
from,
that
like,
is.
cannibalism and someone just being like, "Hey, you can eat my dick." And, like, you know what people say, fucking like 12-year-old kids say that on like Call of Duty and like Halo or whatever the hell. They're all like, "Oh, eat my dick." Well, this guy will eat your dick.
yeah, literally,
So-
he wants you to sign up so that he can eat your dick.
Yeah.
If you want your dick eaten, oh man. Well, thank you for telling me that. That one, I like that. That had everything.
It had cannibalism, it had
Yep.
dick eating,
Dick eating,
you know, jail
consensual
time.
dick
Consensual
eating.
dick eating is pretty big deal.
Those German cannibals. Let me tell you.
Thanks for listening this week to our cannibalism story as well as our Excedrin murder story. Hopefully, you'll still be alive for the next episode and you won't be dead, so you can listen to it. I'm not really sure what our tagline is anymore, so
I don't think we have a tagline.
we're just gonna make it up. Every episode's gonna probably change a little bit, and then eventually we'll figure it out.
Yeah. We should just write. I should write something out. and let's
No, this is better. It's
just-
better
Oh my god!
to
No, because it's so
freestyle.
horrible to edit.
No, we just keep this last part. We keep this like this. Like you just don't even
and then
edit
and
this
then it
last
just
part.
and then it just
It's just all
turns off.
babbling. It's like, okay, thanks guys for listening. Hope you're still around next week. That's